In section 7.3, we're going to be using one or more conversion factor to solve rate problems. Copy down your target, answer the 3 warm-ups, and then press play on the video. Go ahead and pause right now. So now that you've had your target written, and you have hopefully completed the warm-up, how many inches are in 1 foot? Well, there'd be 12 inches, right? 12 inches equals 1 foot. We're going to use this idea today to create a conversion factor. How many inches are in 4 feet? Well, if there's 12 inches in 1 foot, then 4 feet would be equal to 12 times 4, which would be 48 inches. And then the last one, how many feet are in 6 yards? Think about it, 3 feet are in 1 yard. So to find how many are in 6 yards, you just multiply by 6. There's 18 feet per 6 yards. So these were easy measurements, but sometimes the measurements aren't as easy or the numbers don't work out as pretty. You need to understand how conversions work and how to show your work to do these problems. So to convert units, you're always going to multiply by one or more rates or equal quantities called conversion factors. Go ahead and write that down, conversion factors. A conversion factor is something where the numerator is equal to the denominator, although it may not look equal. So for instance, 1 foot is equivalent to 12 inches. This is a conversion factor. The top equals the bottom. So the numerator equals the denominator, so it's basically like you're multiplying by 1. It may not look like 1, but if the top is equal to the bottom and you are dividing anything by itself, that really is like 1. So in essence, that's what you're doing here, okay? So it's basically like you multiply by 1. Again, it doesn't have to be the number 1, but if the top is equal to the bottom, when you divide, that's essentially 1. So, for example, 1 foot over 12 inches would be a conversion factor. You would use this to convert from the inches to the feet. So we're getting to the feet, and that's why the feet are on top. So let's look at the example 1. Find the appropriate factor for each conversion. If I want to convert from the feet to the yards, this is my from part, and I'm going to the yards, I want to end with yards, which means yards is going to be on top, okay? Whatever you're converting to, you want to end with, that goes on top. What am I converting it from? Well, the feet, that goes on the bottom. Now, all you have to fill in are how they related. How are they related? How many yards equals how many feet? Because remember, with a conversion factor, the top has to be equivalent to the bottom. So 1 yard equals 3 feet. Try the next one. If I want to convert pounds to ounces, I want to end up with ounces, I'm converting from the pounds. Remember your 2, that's what I want to end with, so that's going to go on top. To abbreviate ounces, it's OZ. And what I came from was the pounds, so it's LB. Now, how are they related? How many ounces equal how many pounds? Typically, in a conversion factor, you want one of the quantities to be 1 and the other one to be whatever it needs to be equal. So 1 pound is equal to how many ounces? 16 ounces. What you want to end up with here goes on top when you're finding those conversion factors, okay? So let's use these. Let's put them into action here. On average, Mr. Duce's car uses 16 gallons of gas each week. Find the number of gallons of gas being used on average each day and round to the nearest tenth if needed. Here's how we're going to do these problems. First thing you want to do is figure out what you're starting with in terms of rates. And the second thing you want to do is figure out what you're ending with. And I would go all the way across your paper and write down what units you want to end with. So read the problem again. What are we starting with? Well, Mr. Duce's car uses 16 gallons of gas each week. That's what we have. Each is like a division bar. That's telling you that we're comparing them. So it's 16 gallons of gas each week, or every 1 week. So when you hit that word each or per, that's telling you to divide. So there's our rate that we're starting with. Well, the second thing we talked about doing is finding what we want to end with. We won't know the number, but what are our end units? So read the problem. It says, find the number of gallons of gas being used on average each day. So we're finding the number of gallons of gas being used on average each, there's that each again, day. So I want to end up with gallons over days, but I don't know the numbers this time. Now I need to find those, okay? So again, step one, write down what rate you're starting with. Step two, go all the way across the paper, write down what your end units are supposed to be. Now here's where the work starts to happen. Step three is going to be your conversion factors. You may need more than one, you may just need one. So that's why I say stretch all the way across the paper to leave room. We need to convert. Here's how I do this. Look at what you're starting with, start in the numerator. In the numerator, the units I have is gallons. Go all the way across. Do you want to end with gallons or do you want to get rid of it? I want to end with gallons. So I have gallons here, check it off. I have gallons here, check it off. I don't need to convert that. Go to your denominator. What do I have in the denominator? I have weeks. What do I want to end with? Go all the way over. I want to end with days. So we need to change that, okay? When you convert, you always, always, always multiply by a conversion factor. You need to make sure you know that. You're multiplying by a conversion factor. Remember that a conversion factor is basically 1. The top is equivalent to the bottom. So in this problem, I want to cancel out weeks. I want to get rid of weeks and bring in days. In order to cancel weeks, think about a fraction. Since it's on the bottom of the fraction here, where would weeks need to be over here so that it cancels? Weeks needs to be getting rid of. We need to get rid of it, so we're going to put it on top. Those will cancel out now. Remember, if you're multiplying, if you have like 16 over 3 times 3 over 5, we can cross simplify there, right? So divide by 3, that gives you 1. Divide by 3, that gives you 1. That's what we're doing here with labels. We're going to cross simplify and cancel out the weeks. What do we want to convert weeks to? Well, we want to get weeks to days. Do we know a conversion for that? Yeah, we can relate days and weeks. So days goes on the bottom because we want to end with it on the bottom. Weeks goes on top so they will cancel. Fill in the numbers now. Ask yourself how many weeks equals how many days. Well, weeks is bigger, so 1 week equals 7 days. Perfect. Now when we do this multiplication, like I said, we're going to cross simplify. The word week and the word week are gone. You can cross out the ones too if you'd like, but you don't need to. And we're left with days, which is what I want. Perfect. As soon as you have both of these units in the end that you want, now you multiply. So you know you're done with the conversion factors when you have both of these units. Now we multiply fractions. How do you multiply fractions? Straight across. Keep your labels. So 16 gallons times 1 gives me 16 gallons. And 1 times 7 days gives me 7 days. The last step then is just to divide. You have a fraction there, we need to divide it. So use your calculator. We're doing 16 divided by 7. And that gets me, and we're rounding to the nearest tenth, the direction says. So that gets me 2 3/10 gallons per day, or 2.3 gallons per day. Really all we did here is we reduced this fraction to get a denominator of 1. We want to know how many gallons per 1 day. So I'm going to actually take that S off. We want to know how many gallons just per 1 day. It's 2.3 gallons. You can write it over 1, but you don't need the 1. Perfect. Nice job, guys. All right, let's try one more. This one's going to have a few more steps involved in it. Read this problem. Mr. Calvetti biked 14 miles per hour. What is his speed in feet per minute? What is his speed in feet per second? Round to the nearest tenth. Try this one with me. Again, what do we want to start with? What do we want to end with? You have 2 questions here, so let's just take the first one. What is his speed in feet per minute? So that's what I want to end with. And what I'm starting with is Mr. Calvetti biked 14 miles, there's that word per hour. So we have 14 miles per hour or per 1 hour, and we want to get to feet per minute. All right, step 3, we're doing the conversion here. So look at miles, I want to get rid of miles. In order for miles to cancel, it needs to be in the opposite part of the fraction. Since it's on top, I need to put it down on the bottom over here. What do I want to convert miles to? Feet. Now fill in the numbers. How are miles and feet related? Hopefully you know this or have seen this. 5,280 feet equals 1 mile. Perfect. So when we do that, now when we look at our work, the word mile and mile will cancel. We're left with feet, and we want feet. Check those off. Okay, look at the denominator that you're starting with. Down here, I have hours. I don't want hours. I want minutes. See if you can write down the conversion factor of what that would need to be to cancel hours and bring in minutes. You're always multiplying with converting. To cancel hours, it goes to the opposite part of the fraction, so up top this time. And to bring in minutes, I want to end with minutes on the bottom, so I put it on the bottom. How are hours and minutes related? Well, 1 hour is equal to 60 minutes. And do your canceling. So what can cancel here? Hours is both in the numerator and the denominator. It's gone. We're left with minutes. I want minutes. That's perfect. Now the next step was to multiply straight across. So we have 14 times 5,280 times 1. It's going to give me 73,920. And we're left with the word feet. That's the only word left. Over 60 minutes. Remember, you're not done. I want to know how many feet per 1 minute, so I divide. Just type this now in your calculator. So don't forget to divide last, okay? Maybe star that. Don't forget that step. Type it in on your calculator and divide. We get 1,232 feet per 1 minute. The second part of that question then was, what is his speed in feet per second? So now I want to know this. What is his speed in feet per second? Well, it's going to be easier for you if you start with this answer. So now we have 1,232 feet per 1 minute. I want to get feet per second. Pause and try this and then press play and see if you got it right. Okay, now that you've tried it, let's see what you did here. Well, I have feet. I want to keep feet. In order to get rid of minutes, it goes on top. In order to bring in seconds, it goes on the bottom. I want to end with seconds on the bottom. There it is. 1 minute is equal to 60 seconds, so you cancel out those minutes. Multiply straight across. And then don't forget to divide. Don't forget to divide last. Type that in on your calculator. When you divide, you're going to have to round this one. It ends up with 20.5 feet per 1 second. So hopefully you got that right, and you're ready to go on to some additional practice with these conversions.